I'd love to know from you, obviously being the writer and the director, where did the whole idea for this film come from?
Well, the idea kind of came to me in a couple of images initially, and it's been a number of years now. And it was the first image was these young people sitting on a floor of a spacecraft in a really cramped compartment and sort of zoned out, not saying anything. And then the second image was that same group running down a hall, pursuing somebody, and then catching them and beating them to death. And so I thought, what is that all about? Who are these people? Why would there be young people on a spaceship? And so from there, I kind of began to build the story out.
One thing that I was super amazed by with this film was the entire set. It was crazy. Like on screen, it looked huge. How long did it take to build the whole set and have that come to life?
Well, it was built on a number of sound stages and huge sound stages, and yet the individual units of it, the hallway or the compartments, are very cramped and confined. But there's a lot of them, and some of them are, some of those hallways are, 200 or 300 feet long, and so it was, that was all part of the design. And then, then once we have the design, then we just, when we go into production, then they're really fast and they build it and we get it going.
Just in terms of like being an astronaut, did you have to do any training to kind of learn protocols or anything like that?
I guess I tried to just like familiarize myself as much as I could with like that whole world, which is so fascinating to me already. But I think that like, these characters are so specific in that they've been like born and bred for this mission. And so all that they know is this crew and this ship and this mission and everything. So I think that, just as important as that was getting to know just like, even just like walking around the sets a bunch and really knowing your way around and getting really familiar with that environment, just as the characters would have been. And also just like getting that familiarity with the other cast members and everything, just so that we all, really bonded and felt like a family.
And in terms of some of those fight scenes and stuff, it looked pretty physical from the outside in. For you, Tye, how physical was it in those moments?
Yeah, I mean, some of the fight scenes were very physical, and the space is very small. Each room in that film was super small. We were shooting in these very narrow hallways, so the proximity to one another, we're very very close. But yeah, I think it just induces this claustrophobia in the film, and it's very, I don't know, maybe anxiety inducing. But I'm glad you can feel that tension in the film.
And I just feel like it's so bizarre hearing you talk about how claustrophobic it all felt, because watching it, I was like, wow, the set looks absolutely huge. Like, I didn't pick up on the claustrophobic vibe of it all.
That's really interesting that you say that, because everybody's been saying how like claustrophobic it feels. I think that it's easy though, because like there is something very like long, like the hallways feel very long and everything, and kind of never ending in that way. And I think that that's also was a deliberate choice, maybe to make the space feel kind of like a maze by the end of it or something, especially when the chaos starts to kind of unfold and we're like running around and everything's so crazy. It's like it's that sense of kind of like you don't know where you're going, and everywhere you turn there's like a wall, and it's like all very kind of tense and scary.
And in terms of filming the movie, was there a particular scene that you enjoyed filming the most?
Yeah, I think the scene in the canteen where I get to give a big sort of political dictatory speech was probably one of my favorites to do, selfishly, just because I loved the dialogue for it, and that kind of being on stage type of thing.
And if this was not a movie and it was a real life situation, is there anything that you would do differently had it actually been real life?
Yeah, I think probably just try not to make any enemies, because you know that you're going to be stuck together on the spaceship for 80 odd years. So just try and get along as much as possible.
Was there a particular scene that you enjoyed making the most?
That's a good question. The scene that I really like, I mean, I like all those scenes when they're running down the halls, and I liked creating that. And I think it's kind of a metaphor for either their wild abandon or the suspense of what's happening, or even just like a sense of moving through time. The other scene I really like is when Christoper he's got the whole group gathered and he's just trying to reason with them about that there's no fighting and that's not the way we solve our problems, and they just won't see reason. And I think that that's really, you know, the core of the movie is just how do you get through to people.